Okay, so I have removed my bed pillows from my bed because I don't necessarily want them at the head of the bed, but we will use them later. And the first thing we're going to do is just sit. So the thing about your bed is usually it's against some sort of a wall, which is great for seated support. You can just kind of bring yourself as close to that back rest as you can. And if you have enough height, you can bring your shoulders there. If you have enough connection with the wall, you can bring your head there, and it helps you really align your seated position. If you don't have that, you're just going to do your best to sit up tall. I have this, I don't know how many inches it is, but it's a foam pillow top kind of cover on my mattress. So I kind of sink into my bed. So you might want to boost yourself up so that you're not kind of slumping with a pillow or a blanket. But that being said, try to use the back for support. And then you're just going to move your hands somewhere that's close enough to your pelvis that you can let the shoulders align with the hips. You're not seeing your shoulders in your peripheral vision. And then close your eyes without tilting your chin up or down. You're just going to look away from your brain. And just allow yourself to become a little more present than you just were. So you can do this by observing your breath. Start to fill the inner body space with your attention, feeling into various parts of your body. You might use imagery. Sometimes I think about my breath as a very large silk scarf. My favorite color is turquoise. And it's just kind of moving through my body. And you also might just bring yourself into a state of acceptance. One way we kind of distract ourselves from presence is we are not accepting of what is here, the isness of our lives. Some people say the isness, what is. So just allowing a few deeper breaths to flow through. Maybe allowing a few exhalations to kind of more thoroughly empty from your body. And we're going to just come into awareness of some sort of intention for this practice. My intention behind this practice is twofold. One is that one of the best times to practice yoga is immediately after waking up. And so to know kind of how to use your bed as kind of a space for some yoga practice is a nice thing to know. And my other intention for this practice is to help us really start to recognize our own spaces as perfect spaces to practice yoga. It doesn't have to be in some far off yoga studio at some scheduled time. We can really practice more spontaneously. So just take a few breaths and see if you can come into your own intention for this practice today. Maybe it's just to find peace, to become present, or to move your body a little bit after the overindulgence of the holidays. And as you're ready, joining your hands together in front of your heart, bowing toward your heart. And go ahead and lift your head. Let your eyes gently open. Release your hands. We're going to come into child's pose first. And if you want to use a pillow, You can use it. Good thing about pillows is they're very easy to kind of to shape. So if you want to use it to support your front body, you can. Child's pose, we kind of take on the shape that we were inside utero. So that's why it's called child's pose. It's because it's our very first kind of position. And the knees are wide, the feet are together, your spine is in a complete curve. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see the side view here. You try to take your butt toward your heels. If you're using a pillow, you might rest your cheek rather than your forehead. And feel free to use as much or as little of that pillow as you want. And one thing about this pose is if the elbows are kind of a little bit narrow, then you might feel sort of active in your shoulders, which we don't want. We want to feel very passive in this pose. So you might step the elbows wide, and the shoulders then can settle into a more passive position. And while you're here, you're just going to allow your breath to start to move into the back body. You can think about your breath not only moving along the spine, but also across the back body. This pose is a really helpful pose for the nervous system to soothe and settle and quiet the nervous system. If your forehead is grounded on something, it's very quieting. And if your cheek is resting, it's a little less quieting, but still quieting. If you are resting your cheek, just go ahead and turn your head so that the other cheek can rest. We're going to move to the side. So you're just going to move, if you are using a pillow, you can bring it with you, but you're going to move over to your left side. So kind of like your torso is going to align over the left thigh. And then again, it's your choice whether you rest your cheek or your forehead. But when we bring the torso to the side, you'll feel the right side of the body starting to elongate. So your legs stayed in place, but you moved your torso, and you're just kind of draping your torso over the left thigh. While you're breathing here, just envisioning the right side of your body elongating, giving your right hip permission to pull away from the right shoulder. You're going to come back to center slowly. And as you start to move to the center, you can just keep going over to the right side. Again, just kind of placing your torso in alignment with your right thigh, and then lowering your head, maybe your cheek, maybe your forehead, using the pillow as much or as little as you want. And now the left side body gets this really nice chance to open. The spine is taking on some sideways movement, which is a healthy movement for the spine. Our deep breath supports that shape. Getting nice deep flexion in your knees and hips. Just think about the tip of the tailbone. Try to keep it pointed down toward the floor or the bed. Keeping your spine in a single curve. And with your chest over your thigh, you might sense the breath being pushed into the back body. Good thing to do for the lungs. Keep the lungs healthy. And now come back to center. We're all going to be lengthening out on our front sides. So I like to use the pillow for Sphinx pose. I'm stuffing it kind of under my chest and belly so that I can get my arms down on my bed. So I'm completely on my front body. My legs are stretched out behind me. This is such an easy position to do in your bed. A lot of us spend time in our beds, and it's passive time, and it's an easy position to take that's really supportive to your back, because oftentimes our backs need this because we do too much of the other action, which is the forward bending. So this puts your back in a really nice arch. And if you have the support under your chest and belly, it makes the pose even more passive, which can be really nice. It also gives your elbows something to kind of push against to help you move your chest forward. And just take a moment to bring the tailbone toward the mattress. So you might sense your tailbone's trying to kind of poke up toward the ceiling. See if you can kind of direct it toward the mattress, but try not to clamp your buttocks. Keep your buttocks soft. Keep your feet at least as wide as your hips, if not slightly wider. And every time you breathe in, you might kind of resist the in-breath because you have contact and pressure to the belly. Actually, try to really use the resistance of the surface that you're against to force the breath into the back body. Again, it's a really healthy thing to do for the discs along the spine. It's a healthy thing to do for the lungs. And even though the eyes might be open, first of all, you feel free to close them. Otherwise, make sure that you're not letting your gaze or whatever you're staring at align your neck. Try to find the smooth and even alignment of your neck and let your gaze really be secondary to that. Might be helpful to kind of take a few different positions with the neck to see what feels best. And then you're just gonna kind of hold it here. We're not completely passive, of course, but we're trying to really turn the dial down where we don't need to be effortful. So the buttocks, they don't need to be working at all here. The pelvis needs to continue to kind of tip back so the tailbone keeps moving toward the mattress or the floor. The jaw can be relaxed, the cheeks, the eyes. And try not to inhibit that in-breath. Keep the in-breaths really full. Let your belly press against whatever it's pushing on. So if you like to read in bed, you might try to flip over position or TV. It's a good way to support your back. We're going to transition now to a half frog position. So all of these poses so far are perfect on the floor. They're perfect on the bed. I'll tell you when we come to the one that we're going to need to modify if you're on the floor. So don't worry about if we're there yet. We're not. So we're going to do half frog. Let's step the right knee out to the side. So ideally, the right knee is directly in line with your right hip. If you're feeling a little tight in your hip, you might need the knee to be lower than the line of the hip. So you have to really kind of, I say, Goldilocks it. So not too much, not too little, it has to be just right. You're going to kind of prop yourself up on your elbows. You can clasp your hands or do whatever you like with your hands. You might not sense much feeling here. And if that's the case for you, if you're not feeling much going on in your hip, you have a couple options. You can try bringing the knee toward even higher than the hip line. So that's one option. You can elevate your knee with the pillow and step the knee up. Okay, so you should feel this a little bit in your inner thigh, your groin area, also your hip. But there's one more thing we can do to kind of increase sensation or to turn the dial up so that we have enough going on, which is to kind of bring more balance to the right and left side of the body. So you'll notice here that we tend to kind of pull our weight over to the left. So just kind of bring some weight to the right elbow, to the right knee, might add a little pressure to the knee, to the right hip point. And I don't know if you can, probably not, you probably can't see this right foot here, but I have the foot directly in line. The heel is directly in line with the knee. So you have some right angles going on here at the hip, at the knee, and at the ankle. Okay, so your work here is really to kind of correct the weight imbalance. Again, we have a lot of heaviness to the left side here. So just keep bringing weight to the right side. Breathe into any sensation you're feeling. It might be more in the inner thigh, it might be more in the hip. We're all different that way. And as you decide you need more, as you kind of get that cue from your body, you can again elevate the knee, you can draw the knee toward the shoulder line. You're going to breathe deeply. We'll be here about 5 more breaths. So the full pose, as you can imagine, is to have both knees like this off to the side. And that's a big pose. That's a real big pose. And we're not doing it today, by the way. Okay, 2 more breaths. We're going to be transitioning into a twist. So from this position that you're in, you're going to roll onto your left hip. Okay, does that make sense? All right. Attempt to keep your knee where it has been. Now you're going to let your right shoulder drop toward the bed or the floor. Now you're going to unfold your right arm so that your arms are perpendicular from the torso. You might use your left hand against your right knee to kind of keep your leg where it is. It might try to sneak away. So you can use your left hand to hold your right knee if you like. And then to complete your twist, you're just going to roll your head and look down your right arm. So there's a few ways to increase this one as well. If you're going to need more sensation, you can extend your right leg so it's straight. You don't have to work with a bent knee. That's going to be a deeper stretch in your hamstring area. You can continue to move that right leg toward the shoulder line, which will again increase the stretch. And you can kind of be more active with the twisting aspect of this. If you'd like, you can really work your right shoulder deeper into the mattress or the floor. We'll be another 5 breaths and just try to be very deliberate with your breathing. So really nice full inhales, very thorough exhalations. So twists are really important after we do the overindulgent stuff because they help us detoxify. They help our digestive system as well. So it's very good after party time to do some twists. We're going to return to that first position now. So just start to roll back onto your stomach. And once you're there, you can straighten your right leg behind you. And just kind of feel your Sphinx pose again. And you don't need to put the pillow underneath you this time. Just put both legs behind you. Come back to that nice arching position. Try to put enough weight in your elbows so that you don't hang in your shoulders. You have a neck. And then we'll do side 2 of the half frog so that we're going to be stepping the left knee off to the side. You're going to notice, probably most of us do, that we have different situations in our hips. So we're going to prop if you need to, elevate if you need to. You're going to find the right alignment of the knee from the foot is going to be directly in line with the knee. Your toes point off to the side. So you're really resting on the inner foot. Your elbows are roughly underneath your shoulders. You can do whatever you want with your hands. And then you're going to try to create more balance. You're trying to pour some weight back to the left hip point, the left elbow, the left shoulder. That's going to help you keep enough sensation going. We do tend to kind of pull to the opposite side in this one. Keep enough weight in the elbows. Again, you're not hanging in the shoulders. And apply your breaths. So every pose is just a little window that we crack open in the body. The breath gets to move into the body in this new way. And try not to resist the belly pushing against the surface of the floor or the bed. Use that to force the breath into the back body. Consider your neck alignment. So again, it's not about what you're looking at. You might close your eyes to help you find a really nice smooth alignment of the neck, flowing well with the rest of the spine. Relax your jaw, relax your eyes. Last breath. Now we're going to transition onto the right hip to try to set up that twist. And then your left hip comes on top of the right hip. So it's like you're rolling over, but we're going to keep that knee where it is. We're going to let the left shoulder start to sink toward the floor of the mattress. You might use your right hand to hold your left leg in place so it doesn't sneak away. Unfold your left arm so it's perpendicular from the trunk. Palm facing up. Do your best to breathe some weight into your left shoulder, and to finish it off, just look down the left arm side so your neck is part of this deep, beautiful twist. Again, if you need more, feel free to extend the left leg. Feel free to move the leg higher toward the shoulder line. Just 3 more breaths. Now you're going to start to gently make your way back onto your front side. And when you get there, just extending that left leg out behind you. Try to center your legs so that you're on the tops of your feet, tops of your ankles, tops of your knees, centers of your thighs. And just come back to a couple moments in your back bend. So Sphinx pose. Sphinx is the one where the elbows are under the shoulders. Cobra, which gets a little deeper, the hands kind of move into that position where the elbows just were. But we're not going to do Cobra today. It's really squishy kind of surface to work on, so some poses are better than others on the bed. Just a couple more breaths. Try to relax the buttocks, spread the buttocks so they're not clamping. They're actually moving away from midline. Lift your inner thighs toward the ceiling and take the tip of the tailbone toward the mattress or floor. Good. So we're going to come into the one pose that really the bed is going to be more supportive to you than the floor. But if you're on the floor and you want to stay on the floor, what you're going to do is try to get enough props that you can elevate from the shoulders to the feet so that your head can be suspended. So Louise, if you're going to stay on the floor, you'll want to use, oh, you're going to go up to the bed. Okay. And I think you'll have enough room for Jill and Sue to both be on the bed. What we're going to do is have our heads hanging over the foot of the bed, and your body will be completely supported and flat on the mattress. Okay. This is kind of a funny view here, but your head will just kind of hang. I think you can see me. Let me see. Yeah, you can see half my head, which is enough. So your head, and this is really healthy thing to do for your brain, for your nervous system, for your lymphatic system. So it's good to get the head upside down. The topsy-turvy poses are actually really good for us. Although if we don't do them much, we aren't going to hold it very long, because you do need to kind of do some conditioning to start to create more sustained inversions. So we won't be here super long, but you're going to have your head lower than the rest of your body. You're going to raise the arms and let the arms also be above the head, and just kind of yielding to gravity. There's a couple things we need to do physically here. So we're not just passive. We are going to take the tailbone and direct the tip of the tailbone toward the ceiling now, which will kind of feel like you're flattening your back against the mattress. So this is one action we have to do when we're in a back bend to keep ourselves in integrity. So it looks like it's Sue. Just separate your hands. Yep. And you want to, like you're holding a box, so that your hands are about shoulder width wide. Yeah, and Jill too. There you go. And as you reach out through your fingernails, try to draw your shoulders toward your hips. So you're creating some dynamic energy in your arms. So the fingertips move one way, the shoulders in the other. If you feel like your front inner edges of your rib cages are kind of blasting open and up, I want you to imagine you're wearing a corset and you're going to zip it up right now. So zipping between the front rib cage, you're just going to move the inner ribs toward each other and also toward the spine. So making ourselves a little more compact there is a very helpful thing for the back. Okay, just a couple more breaths. Okay, start to move your hands back so they're more in line with your hips. You can bend your knees, kind of roll to your side and bring your head up onto your bed. You're free to, let's just take a moment before we move. So if you're dizzy, I want you to just take a moment, but you can move back to the floor once you've resolved any dizziness. You can stay on your bed if you'd like. This is when we're going to take hold of our strap. So you can find your way to lying flat on your back. If you need a little bit of a pillow, you can put that under your head. I'm going to take a side view here so you guys have kind of a better visual, but we're going to come into a couple hand to big toe poses with the strap. So go ahead and grab your strap and just take hold of your right foot. And then I want you to wrap your hands once so that they cover the knuckles. The straps cover the knuckles. And then allow your hands to slide until you feel your shoulders are touching the floor of the mattress. So we don't want the shoulders popping up off of the surface that you're resting on. We want our shoulders sitting down. Tilt your chin toward your chest, so your neck is nice and long. And then find your straightest leg, which might mean your leg has to move away from your torso. You're going to wind your hands so that you can see your inner wrists and your fingernails. This is a little bit of a tweak we can do to help keep our chest spread and lifted rather than kind of sunken and rounded. And you're just breathing into the stretch you feel in the back of the leg. We want to make sure it's not behind our knee. So if you're feeling tugging at the attachment points behind the knee, that's a sign you're probably overwhelmed. So you're going to take the leg away from the torso, or you can kind of relax your foot a little bit if that helps relieve that. But don't work with pain behind the knee. We're going to lend the dexterity of our hands to the less developed neural pathways in the hip joint. So you're just going to kind of rotate your femur head in your ball and socket joint in either direction. So you can move clockwise or counterclockwise, doesn't matter. We will switch in a little bit. But kind of think about that fulcrum, that point where the femur head meets the hip socket, and it's just kind of moving around like a mortar and pestle situation. So you just want to make a very small oscillation. There will be points along the way that feel, I call them hot spots. So we have more sensation in certain areas than others. Pay attention to those because we're going to be landing in a moment on a hot spot. So just do a few circles, kind of get to know where those little hot spots are. I see a few bent knees, so try to straighten your leg as best you can. And the next time you move in that circle and you're in that hot spot, you're going to stay. For me, it's always a little bit, my leg is a little bit into the midline of the body. That's where my hot spot usually is. Could be different for you. Look at your foot. And if you're seeing a foot sickling or the inner foot dropping, reach up there. It's probably going to wake up more sensation, but make sure to pick up the sole of the foot so it's flush with the ceiling. And whatever sensation you have going on, breathe into it. Give it some breath. Good. Now, does everybody remember what direction they were moving in? You're going to try to go in the other direction. And the good thing is about yoga, this is one of the things I love about yoga, is if the brain doesn't remember, the body usually does. So if you don't remember, just kind of start to move around, and I think you'll remember which way you were moving in. And if not, just make your best guess. And you might notice that in this second direction, you have some different hot spots going on. It might also be the same. So there's no wrong answers, but we're always very curious. We're always making inquiry into the body. We're like little detectives. We replace judgment with curiosity, objective curiosity. So next time you find your hot spot, you're just going to pause and breathe. And go ahead and start to bend the knee. Step your right foot down. You can just hold your strap, and you might just hang out on your belly with your strap. Extend your right leg. And just take a moment to compare and contrast your legs, the sensation. Consider the length. If you were hovering over your body, maybe see an image of yourself. For most of you, I promise the right leg is probably longer. Just feeling into that difference between the legs. For me, one feels kind of dull. One feels like a yoga teacher I know uses the description like it's been soaking in ginger ale. I love that description. It feels like it's alive and awake. I can sense my right leg more than I can sense my left leg. I'll go ahead and take hold of your left leg now so we can have both legs feeling just as good as each other. And you're going to go back to that setup. It's ideal to have your knuckles wrapped so there's less effort wasted on squeezing the strap, holding the strap. Slide down your straps until your shoulders hit the floor of the mattress. Rotate your arms so you can see your inner wrists and fingernails, spreading the chest. And make sure your leg is straight, which again might mean you have to move away from the torso a little bit. Breathing into this first edge. Lots of tension probably. So deeper breaths, focused breaths. And now again, we're just going to start that first direction, oscillating the leg, thinking about keeping the femur head really snug into the hip joint, the ball and socket joint, working with that point of contact kind of as the fulcrum for this leg to move around on, and just becoming aware of where those hot spots are. You also might become aware of how clever the body is at skipping over them or sneaking through them quickly. And just kind of take note of which direction you're moving in, whether it's clockwise or counterclockwise. And the next circle you do, you're going to find that first hot spot, you're going to land and breathe. And this is your deep, focused, smooth breathing. Check on those arm rotations. Sometimes we default back to our kind of shut down internal shoulder rotation position. So winding the fingernails to face you and inner wrists to face you, helping the shoulders sit down. Deep breaths. Second direction now. So if you were going clockwise, you're going to go counterclockwise and vice versa. And you're really trying to move evenly through the points of the circle. So again, like I said, we do tend to kind of cleverly skip past those areas that might be very high sensation. So just kind of like the arm of a sweeping clock. You're moving slowly and deliberately. And let's take one more rotation. You're going to find that spot that you're going to land. Check on those arm rotations. Make sure your shoulders are still sitting down. Deep breaths. Good. And now begin to bend your knee. Extend your left leg. You can put your strap aside. And just taking note of both legs now and how the legs feel. There's so much surface area in our legs. I always feel a really strong residual effect from hand to big toe poses. You might feel that it's flowing into other parts of your body. You might feel more calm and peaceful in the mind. You might have that tingly, kind of alive feeling in both legs now. Right. So next pose is bound angle pose. And this is a great pose for two pillows. Even if your hips are pretty lubricated, pretty open, I recommend taking support anyway, because you'll notice that your hips and groins can surrender more. So what we're going to do is it's the butterfly pose, the cobbler pose. It's the shape of the legs that the feet are joined, the knees are wide, and you do attempt to bring your heels close to your kind of center point, to your pubic bone. And then you're going to stuff the pillows underneath your knees as much as you need so that you really feel cradled. What we do not want to feel is any gripping in the groins, inner thighs, and the hips. And after you hold this pose for some time, you might adjust those pillows so there's less support, and you'll notice that maybe you don't need as much. Unfold your arms and push your forearms down on your bed or the floor so that you can get your shoulder blades to kind of move up toward your chest, and you can get your shoulders to sit down a little more firmly against your bed or floor. And then rock your head until your chin tilts closer to the chest. And then the rest is really allowing the pose to work on you. So trust that you set it up well enough. Of course, if anything's nagging at you, take care of that. But otherwise, just really start to surrender into being held in the pose. We can hold the pose or we can be held in the pose. And so now we're being held in the pose. And this is a wonderful pose to start to bring space into the diaphragm, which sits as low as the pelvic floor. It sits as high as the soft palate at the roof of the mouth. So we're going to travel the breath from the lowest point to the highest point. You might visualize that pathway, that journey. And you're going to exhale the breath in the same way. So you're exhaling from the soft palate at the roof of the mouth, all the way touching down to the pelvic floor. And if you release the whole exhale, you might feel a little contraction at the pelvic floor. That's a sign that you've really let go of the full breath. So oftentimes we haven't quite fully exhaled. We think we have, but oftentimes there's still a little exhale left to go. So that's one little clue. If you feel a little contraction, it's like a little blink at the pelvic floor, you can trust you've really fully exhaled. As you're breathing deeply, sometimes it's fun to do a 3-part breathing visualization. So inhaling the belly, keep inhaling, spreading the left and right rib cage apart, and then keep inhaling and float your collarbones toward the ceiling. And then you'll exhale in the reverse order. The collarbones settle, the left and right rib cage kind of move back toward midline, and the belly sinks toward the pelvis. So making your breath, feel the full circumference of the breath inside the body. Make it very 3D. You might adjust those pillows at this point. We have another minute to go here. So you might try less support, see how your body responds. Remember, if there's any gripping or holding or effort brought in, that you probably want to go back to using the support. As you take those deep inhales for this last half of a minute, watch the inner gaze. So we don't want the eyes rolling up in the head, which can happen when we're doing big, deliberate inhales. So just kind of temper your big, deliberate inhale with your eyes pointed toward your cheeks. Last breath in, nice and full. Thorough exhalation. Every last drop goes out. And when you get there, just resume your automatic breathing, the breath that needs no control. It just breathes on its own. Take your fingertips and join your knees. Now we're going to move to the bed so that your feet can be against your headboard or against the wall. So if you're on the mat on the floor, you might move to a wall if that's possible. But the distance we want is such that your knees can be in right angles. So you're not going to be flush with the wall. You're going to be approximately a shin's length away so that you can have your shins really level with the ceiling, your knees above your hips. And then you're going to cross your right ankle to your left thigh. And you'll just give a little pressure to your inner right knee. So if you need more going on here, you can drop your foot toward the hip crease. You can also inch your buttocks closer to the wall to make this more compact and make the hip opening a little more intense. If you need less going on here, move your butt farther from the headboard or the wall and make it a little more open. We're going to stay for about a minute on each side. Again, the sides might be different. Keep your chin tilted toward your chest. Just 2 more breaths. And after your second breath, take your right thigh in your hands and just grab behind the thigh. So your hands are really close to the buttock. Straighten your leg and flex your foot just to kind of take care of the knee. And then you can gently transition to the opposite side. So you might need a different setup here. So you might slide closer to the wall, farther. You might slide your foot closer to the hip crease to increase the sensation. You're going to add pressure with your left hand pressing on the inner knee. Slow, steady breaths. Okay. Making sure you guys can see me. Next time I teach a bed class, I'm going to wear a more high contrast outfit because I feel like my outfit disappears into my headboard. So lesson learned. Hopefully you're getting the gist of the poses as I camouflage myself. Okay, so we're going to take the leg up now. You can just clasp behind the thigh, close to the buttocks so your shoulders are staying relaxed and settled. And then again, straighten the leg and push the heel toward the ceiling to find that nice, really supported kneecap. Your knee doesn't wobble around when you've engaged the muscles that surround it. And then you can bend your knee And we're going to be lifting up into a bridge pose. So it's important you have your feet either on your headboard or on the wall. And the distance can be the same that you just had for your hip opener figure 4. So it can be the same. Some people do like to scoot a little closer, but you want to make sure that your feet aren't going to go anywhere, that you have a firm place to push off of. You're going to use your arms at your sides, palms down, and on an exhale, lift your hips up. So your chest and chin come together. Again, those buttocks that want to clamp and turn into hard little nuggets, we want to spread them away from midline. Roll your inner thighs down. You might even use your hands like I'm doing and kind of direct the flesh of the buttocks out away from midline. Keep lifting your hips. 2 more breaths. This is a big pose. 1 more breath. And then walk your spine down slowly, slowly, slowly. And from there, extend your legs. Legs up the wall pose is such a simple pose, and it's wonderful for almost every aspect of your human body. So if you like where you are, you can stay there. If you're able to move closer to the wall, you can move your buttocks closer to the wall so your legs go up the wall. Some people like to put a pillow underneath their lower back. So that's another nice option. You do have to do some wiggling to get yourself kind of in position. But once you have your legs supported, your heels supported, I should say, then you unfold your arms, close your eyes. And the only thing that's active in this pose is just a little bit of effort in the legs to the point where it's like you could hold a little paperback book on the bottoms of your feet. So it's as if your heels are reaching up toward the ceiling and the ball mounds of your feet are reaching up toward the ceiling. Keep your belly soft. Your eyes pointed away from the brain toward the cheeks. Relax the skin of your face. And imagine your face is kind of melting from the hairline down to the chin. Like it's a mask falling away. Create more room on the inside of your mouth. Relax the lower jaw away from the upper jaw. This is wonderful for the heart and the brain. It's really wonderful to give your legs a break from their usual relationship with gravity. It's really good to redirect our state of mind if we're feeling down. This can be a really great way to kind of bypass the blues and feel a little bit more cheerful. It's wonderful for our lymph system. So we're going to just take the legs up now and away from the wall. And then you're going to raise your arms as well. This is dead bug. And you're going to try to position your limbs in space so that you have to use the most minimized effort. You're just kind of playing with not only where the limbs are in space, but letting the legs sink down into the hip joints, letting the arms rest on the shoulders. And then make sure the neck is lengthened against the mattress or the floor. So rock your head until your chin comes down to your chest. And just see if you can be here. It requires some effort, but really turning the dial down to the lowest setting. And gently start to bend your knees. Take your hands to your belly. Push yourself up the mattress a little bit. And we're going to release the spine. Hands to your belly. Feet on the floor or the mattress. And you're going to let your knees fall to the right and your head to the left. And then the knees move to the left and the head to the right. And just keep going. And you can go at whatever rhythm feels good to you. I do like to really move to the twisting side of the portion of the pose on the exhale. Inhale, transitioning. Exhale, head is one way, knees the other. And after a few of these, after several, your spine should be kind of neutralized from the work we just did. And from there, you're just going to extend your legs, unfold the arms. You might cover up if you're cold. We're going to take our final resting pose. The palms turn up, which puts us in a really receiving sort of headspace. And the arms are moved away enough from the torso that they don't touch the trunk. The legs are separated hip distance apart. The feet flop open from the big toes toward the small toes. Your chin should at least be level, if not lower than the forehead. And then you're going to just let yourself surrender. So not only noticing the body sinking down, but maybe noticing the mattress or the floor rising up to support you. Go back to that original intention you set. Maybe use it like a mantra. Mantra is a tool for the mind. It's another way we can kind of keep ourselves present. And you might just repeat your intention with each breath. You might say it mentally. If we were successful, we have an expanded sense of awareness. You might feel more equanimity, which means an evenness of response to whatever stimuli we encounter. You might feel more settled in time and place. Busy, chattering monkey mind might be quiet. You're welcome to stay as long as you like. You're ready to come out of the pose. Just start to stretch the fingers, stretch the toes. You might rotate wrists and ankles. You might rock your head from side to side. And you'll bend your knees and elbows. You'll help yourself ease over to one side. Just rest on your side for a moment. And then from there, gently finding a seated position. When you're upright, just sitting for a moment, We'll join the hands together in front of the heart. Just close the eyes. When you don't actively frown, the face feels like it's smiling. So just allowing the face to be soft, maybe a little smile appears. Let's take a deep breath in through the nose and let it go. From the place within me that I know to be divine, I honor that place within each of you. Namaste. All right. Well, thank you all for joining me for this fun bed class. And I will send the recording to anybody that wants it. And we will meet next week for our normal chair class. So take care, and I'll see you soon.